Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie Tolhurst, and welcome to the Charlie Tolhurst Show today. It is, of course, the 1st of August. Can you believe it? We are now already through July. It's now August. Welcome, everyone. I am live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter tonight for the Charlie Tolhurst Show, the show that brings you all the latest news and gives a sharp take on the week's action. I'm joined by Labour Party supporter Zach Holmes to round up all the latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hi, Charlie. Hello, mate.
Now, Zach, we're going to start with the digest as we always do. And I want to start with the news from politics this week now. And I want to start right here in the UK. Now, I know a lot of people might find this very interesting indeed. But, Zach, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer has called for the UK government to bring forward this end of the easing of the restrictions for double jabbed Brits. I mean, at the moment, as you would have known for all the listeners out there, the 16th of August is the date when double jabbed Brits and people under the age of 18 are meant to escape isolation. And Zach, Mark Drakeford from Wales has announced the date being moved forward by a week. Do you think Boris Johnson must do this?
It's an interesting strategy, Charlie. Interesting. 16th of August, currently the gate. Keir Starmer's called it to go forward a little bit 1 week earlier to I think it's the 9th, I think it is, something like that. Where I think the Welsh government have called are basically removing that option. So Keir Starmer very much in line with Welsh Labour policy there. We had another big week on the pandemic front, I believe, as well. I will look this up, but I believe it was probably another record.
Yes,
breaking week.
Big number. Nearly 700,000 Brits, I think, had to self-isolate.
700,000, yeah. That's quite a lot. It keeps breaking record-breaking week on week. So yeah, I think there's a bit of a problem really there in terms of the, amount of people that are being pinged. But it's six. I think it's it rose 689,313.
Wow.
This week in England and Wales. It doesn't include Scotland, so if we include Scotland, it will be a bit higher. So the rate of increase is going down. Interestingly, Charlie, it rose by 11% compared to 17. So it's still going up a little bit. And the amount of check-ins, I've noticed. Let me get up this data here, Charlie, because it's very interesting, and I think it's important that I show you this actually. But nevertheless, if you see here, this is the check-ins, right? Okay, using the NHS QR codes basically. This is when they start introducing it here. As you noticed, they're going down and down and down. And we look at this here, where the restrictions are lifted. You can clearly see it's going down further. So, and I expect when we get to August, this will go down even further. So, yeah, the NHS code, basically that's requiring the use of the NHS app to check in, is actually going down. Now it's not a legally binding thing, except for when it will probably be in September for nightclubs and other higher venues. So, yeah, it's clear to see that businesses are not really using it, and you're less likely to see people, get pinged using the check-in. So yeah, I think that's one effect, but there's also other work as well as the virus spreads as well. I have to say, Charlie, it's interesting because the virus rate has gone down, but that might be due to a lack of testing, or is the rate actually slowing? We'll be seeing. So whether this will reflect the data, the pandemic will reflect the data in the going forward. There's a bit on delay. We'll see.
Now, Zach, as you would have known, Zach presented that data there with the NHS, people being pinged by the app. Unfortunately, as you would have known, I have sadly deleted the app from my
Oh,
phone.
have you?
I mean, I've been hearing lots of journalists, and even I think Professor Carol Sikora, who was on GB News the other week, they said the app was not fit for purpose. I just, there's this debate going round about, is this app going to work? And I tell you what, I'm not going to lie. We had an awful test and trace system last year. I was contacted last year to self-isolate when when I was at my old college, tested positive for coronavirus. I was told by my educational facility to self-isolate, yet I didn't get a contact from the NHS. I mean, that's crazy. People, no matter if they're in close contact with someone who tests positive before you're vaccinated, should be alerted. It is crazy. And no wonder why the app is becoming publicised in the press, should I say, over the last week, with
I think
Michelle
it's
Dubry
interesting,
speaking
Charlie,
about it on GB
that
News.
I think it's interesting, Charlie, that at the time when you came to close contact with a student that tested positive, right, you didn't get pinged. You were just advised to self-isolate by college, and yet we are seeing instances and examples from what I've read of people being told to self-isolate and getting pinged basically because they're through a wall. It detects it through basically COVID can be detected through a wall, and you're basically pinged even though you're not nowhere near them. So it just proves the app doesn't really have some logic in terms of data and sensibility. I think that's a strange one. It just proves that it's a bit inconsistent in that terms if we're going to say it in that way. Yeah.
Oh, Zach, I can't believe it. It's crazy. I just, this is I told you this was going to be, there's going to be a summer of chaos, as what we predicted was going to happen. People being pinged, forced to self-isolate. Businesses need the support. They need contact testing. Thank goodness they've extended this, because it's just not, again, as I said last week on this show, that it's just not going to be able to open up. They're not going to be able to trade. So this is what the Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer had to say from isolation about the self-isolation measures, as he called for the Prime Minister to ease the rules for double-jabbed Brits as soon as possible. Have a listen to this.
But we've got to find a way forward here. We're seeing a real summer of chaos. You can see the impact it's having on so many businesses, so many sectors. And the government has never really explained the logic of its 16th of August date on isolating. Welsh Labour have obviously taken the lead on this and said in clear terms that if you're double vaccinated, you don't need to self-isolate from the 7th of August. And I'm challenging the government. We should do the same and allow some order to come back into our lives, allow some stability for holidays and for businesses. There's too much chaos. There isn't a satisfactory answer from the government as to why they're clinging on to the date of 16th of August. Welsh Labour is showing the way we should follow.
Thank you there to Keir Starmer for raising that point on the self-isolation. Zach, do you agree with him?
I can understand, really, if you want people to stop, if we want this like critical workers to be working or anything like that, then yeah, you know, that's true. You're less likely to get COVID if you're double vaccinated. You know, it doesn't mean you're not entirely eliminated. You can still catch it, as we've seen in America, here, for example.
And Piers Morgan as well, showing us with being double jabbed.
Yeah, exactly. And he's still, I think he's got long COVID because he's on day 18. Oh, I think he was explaining the other day, he was on day 18 of symptoms. So this must be 19 today or something like that. So he must have long COVID, which is, yeah, not good. So yeah, I can understand that from a logistical perspective that, you know, if you are double jab, maybe you should have less rules than, say, you know, none jabbed and stuff like that. I suppose, and I understand. And it might, and if you're getting pinged every time, told to self-isolate, it is causing a lot of problems for the workforce. So yeah, the Welsh are going a week earlier. Yeah, so Labour is pretty much very much aligned with that, with the Welsh government, really, because the Welsh government is run by Labour there. It's not surprising that he really said that, to be honest.
I do actually agree with Keir Starmer on this point. I'm not joking. I actually do, because I don't understand what the logic is to keep the 16th of August date. He's right to say that I mean, I've never ever said this. I've never said I've agreed with Keir Starmer on a lot of things, but this thing about the self-isolation, I do, because as he said the other week, there's going to be a summer of chaos with people being pinged, and we've got to end this. We need to end this soon, because, as I fear, many thousands of businesses are going to go in the water with people self-isolating. It's going to impact hospitality. It's going to impact several things. We don't even know what the vaccine passport debate's going to look like. I mean, the Liberal Democrats called for vaccine passport. The Liberal Democrats called for Parliament to be recalled for a debate on vaccine passports. So, I mean, it's just, please comment down below, guys, what you think about all this, the pandemic, and also the continuing discussion on vaccine passports, because we're going to be keeping you updated on that over the next few weeks. But moving on now from the first part show on the pandemic now to Formula One. We're going to cover this in the digest today, Zach, because we have a maiden winner, and oh my, is what I'm going to use to describe this. Esteban Ocon for Alpine, taking the team's first win for many years. And I tell you what, Zach, for Esteban Ocon, what an incredible day he had at the office.
Oh, that was the most chaotic race I think I've seen him quite well, Charlie. It had it all. We had moments where there was 6 cars basically crashing into each other in the first corner. There was a point where, there was 1 car on the grid for the restart, which I can't believe I even have to say that. Quite extraordinary. That would be in a pub quiz probably in the future. Which race featured a restart that included 1 driver on the grid and the rest in the pit lane? Probably in your future pub quiz that will come up. But nevertheless, through the chaos, Mercedes got tactically wrong on the standing restart in terms of getting the correct tyres, and it cost Lewis Hamilton victory, and giving it to Esteban Ocon, of all people. Because Max Verstappen got smashed up on the first lap. So did his teammate. So did Leclerc. So did Bottas. So did Norris. I mean, there's like 6 cars that are crashing into each other in the first corner that pretty much decide the race. Lewis Hamilton on the standing restart was the only one not to change tyres from wets to, from inters to slick. And we had the extraordinary moment where he was the only one that decided not to come into the pits, and he was the only one on the grid. I mean, even the 2005 US Grand Prix had more cars on the grid than the pit lane, than what happened today. But that was for the restart. Everyone else resumed. But nevertheless, Ocon was the first one. Well, he was the first, basically the leader, because Russell decided to do a cheeky little maneuver of trying to overtake in the pit lane. Something he's obviously learned Formula E style from the London E Prix. But yeah, incredible race between Ocon and Vettel, and Hamilton doing the 2-stopper. I think helped, but I don't understand why the fatal error he had today is, why did he not stop to go on the slicks? Because if that was the case, no team communication is prominently disallowed on formation laps and stuff like that. But the thing is, Charlie, why didn't he pit? Because if he pitted at first, Lewis Hamilton would have squeezed through this race easily and would have an extended championship advantage, no doubt about it. Now, let's look at the results, actually, because I think this is important. Now, Charlie, I should point out there are a few things.
Sorry, guys, we're having some technical difficulties at the moment. We're back now. Apologies.
Oh, you're right. That's right. I should point out, Charlie, the results at the moment: Ocon, Vettel, Hamilton. Vettel here is under investigation further now because he did not provide enough of a fuel sample out of his car. You have to show at least a 1 litre fuel sample. He came out, his car provided a sample of 0.3 litres. And so he could be in trouble here post-race for not showing up enough fuel sample. So he's under investigation at the moment for not enough fuel sample. The punishment would be disqualification, which could put Hamilton in second and Carlos Sainz on the podium. But that's not been confirmed yet. Fourth, as it is at the moment, it's fourth Sainz, fifth Alonso, who I think was overwhelmingly the driver of the day, I think, for me.
Definitely. Looked really good, Alonso, today.
Outstanding defending against Lewis Hamilton towards the end of the race. Outstanding. You know, incredible how he pretty much held up Lewis Hamilton all that time. It was spectacular. Gasly sixth, great rate from Tsunoda seventh. I thought it was a really decent race for Tsunoda, although he did lose out. To be fair, he did lose out to his team at the end. I think he was trying to get ahead of his team out. Latifi
and Williams
Russell.
double points.
Let's talk about Latifi and Russell, Charlie. Spectacular. Their first points for Williams. They're on 6 points, if I'm correct. Yes, they're on 6 points. That is incredible. Max Verstappen with a disappointing 10th after being clobbered on the first lap. He lost his sideboard. I mean, he's really lost a load of aero and performance and had more understeer. Got held up by Ricciardo most of the race. 11th was Raikkonen. I thought we did a pretty good job. Ricciardo 12th, who had a poor weekend overall. Mick Schumacher 13th. Also held Verstappen up for quite a bit as well. Giovinazzi 14th. He got penalised for actually Raikkonen got penalised for. I think it was Giovinazzi penalised for unsafe release.
Mazepin retired.
Because of the pit lane in the smash. Norris was so unlucky. I have to say, Norris was so unlucky to be caught. He was an innocent standing on that. Rather sad. Bottas behind him had a 5-place grid penalty for the next race, Charlie, for causing that collision. Perez, and again, another very unlucky. Leclerc as well caught up, and Stroll, that was his fault in regard. He's also got a 5-place grid penalty for basically the turn 1 smash up as well. Gasly got additional point for the fast lap, and so what that means, if we look at the Drivers' Championship, Charlie,
it's going to be close now.
Hamilton now has a 6-point lead ahead of Verstappen now, provisionally, as we go to the 4-week break. That could be more, depending on what happens to Vettel. Norris is still third, ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Wow. Perez is 5th, Leclerc 6th, Sainz 7th. Good race for him. He could get more. He could go ahead of Leclerc if the results get overturned against Vettel. Ricciardo 8th, Vettel 9th, 10th Gasly in the championship. And it's changed as well in the constructors.
Yeah, Mercedes are now ahead of Red Bull after that.
By 10 points. Ahead of 10 points. Scrapple between Mr. McLaren and Ferrari for third, still going on. Alpine 5th, thank you very much. Don't want to top. Aston Martin 6th. Could once again go behind AlphaTauri, depending on Vettel's investigation. Williams 8th, goodness me, ahead of Alfa Romeo. Now that's something I wouldn't be able to say if we said that a year ago. And 10th is the Haas, still yet to get off the mark.
Crazy.
10, 11 races. It's quite something.
Wow. So we next up go to Spa at the end of the month. Obviously, we've got the traditional summer break. But yes, big weekend for all the drivers. I'm going to play for you now whilst we're here. The first lap collision between Valtteri Bottas, Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, and also Max Verstappen and many other drivers on the first lap here in Hungary. Have a listen to this.
All the talking stops right now because it's lights out and away we go. And Hamilton does get away very well indeed. Bottas doesn't. Verstappen's already nearly alongside him. And there goes Lando Norris down the inside. It is Hamilton ahead of Verstappen. Bottas has dropped 3 or 4 places. And there's Lando Norris touched. And into each other goes Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez. And that's the Alfa Romeo. And AlphaTauri getting caught up. And the McLaren spun round with the Ferrari as well. And the Max Verstappen, I think, has gone tumbling down the order. Yeah, Max Verstappen has got caught out with that. That is a dream start.
this is not what we want to see. I mean, we're looking forward to that battle, and Max Verstappen seems to have heavy damage. Look at the sparks coming off his car.
Oh, it was a dreadful first corner for Max Verstappen. Sergio Perez is right down there as well. This is Red Bull tumbling down the order quite dramatically in these opening stages. Hamilton leads. Esteban Ocon is right up there. Sebastian Vettel is in third. Then comes Charles Leclerc. So comes Carlos Sainz. Then Yuki Tsunoda in the Alpha Tauri. There's Max Verstappen started third, now running ninth.
What an unbelievable first quarter. Look at the order. Bottas is out as well.
Well, Bottas certainly caught up in the thick of that out of this race. And that is Charles Leclerc as well. Initial getaway. Very good for Lewis Hamilton. Very good for Max Verstappen. Bottas struggling from the off.
Yes, Bottas struggling massively. An awesome start from Lando Norris, but I think he's the one who messes up. He breaks way too deep going into turn one. Oh no, it's actually...
He gets tagged by Bottas.
It's Bottas who
and then
messes
into Max Verstappen goes Lando Norris. Perez gets caught up in all of that as well. Bottas, you can see, out of turn one. We can see it once again. It's Valtteri Bottas who loses it under braking.
Absolutely, he just breaks way too late and causes the entire mess.
Well, Max Verstappen tangled with a British driver at Cops on lap one. It's another British driver that has tangled with Max Verstappen a race later. On board now with Valtteri Bottas. And he made contact with both Red Bulls there.
Bottas took out both Red Bull cars.
Well, there'll be a lot of talking after this race.
Thank you there. Wow. What an opening lap that was. And Valtteri Bottas has been certainly blamed by everyone for that collision. Zach, what do you have to say about the first lap? Do you think the stewards got the penalty spot on?
Yeah. It was blatantly Valtteri's fault. I mean, it's the second time in two races that Verstappen's basically been taken out because of a Mercedes. I mean, he did get hit by the McLaren, but that McLaren was innocent in that one. I mean, Norris was pretty much the innocent party because Bottas basically decided to hit Lando, which then meant Lando catapulted into both Perez and Verstappen. You got to feel kind of sorry for Verstappen. You get held up all race and loses performance of his car. I feel sorry for him. This is like, these are title, possibly title contending moments. And it's all going to count up towards the end of the season, Charlie. There's no doubt about it. But, I tell you something, that was a wild race. Let me say that, Charlie. It was a very wild race. If you told me Ocon would win that, you'd be kidding me. A great drive from him. Absolutely great drive. And just fantastic overall.
What a weekend. What a weekend for Esteban Ocon, guys. I'm going to congratulate him right now. He's had a difficult time in Formula One. And that's his best result since his podium last year in the Sakir Grand Prix. Wouldn't you believe it? Trust me. So, Formula One will return on the 29th of August at Spa. Speaking of the Spa 24, we just have some motorsport news to bring you. I am very sadly to hear there's been if you watched the Spa 24 hours yesterday, there was a huge crash at Eau Rouge involving Williams' Jack Aitken, who is a reserve driver. He was pictured in hospital the other day with, I believe, some injuries. Zach, what did you make of the start of that race yesterday in Spa?
Yeah, that was a horrible crash. I saw some footage of it earlier, and it very much reminded me of how that incident with Andrew Hubert happened, where he got clobbered into the side. I mean, there was like 5-6 cars, so it made it look really bad. Yeah, it was a horrible crash, Charlie. And I know what you're going to mention next as well, because I know his, as well as that, Charlie, there was rather sadly an incident at Brands Hatch involving a car and a marshal. Very sad scenes for that. The marshal got killed rather sadly. So, thoughts to the marshal. The marshals do a great job. They volunteer. They don't work. Some of them don't even get paid for it. They just volunteer their time. And it's sad. that they have sacrificed their life to help the track going and keeping everyone safe and making sure that everyone's all right.
Yeah, and I have to say, motor racing is dangerous, and obviously we wish Jack Hakin well for a speedy recovery because he was involved. That Lamborghini Huracan GT3 sadly crashed at Eau Rouge. A Ferrari was also involved in that as well. 488 GTE got involved as well. That was at the GT World Challenge Series at Spa. The 24 hours is, I don't know if the 24 hours has finished, but we'll keep you updated on our socials with the winner of that event. We'll bring you the results as we get them. But we're going to move on now from the digest to sports round because we've got the Olympics to round up. We're going to do a quick little Olympics update today because we've had such a busy week of action with the Olympics. I want to start though, if I may, with what I think the highlight of the week has been, and that was on Monday when Tom Daley took gold for the first time in his career with Matty Lee in the men's 10 metre synchro platform. And Zach, what was your opinion on all the action at the Olympics this week, including the medals for Team GB?
Oh, the Tom Daley one, spectacular, Charlie, absolutely spectacular. That's his first gold. You wouldn't believe it was Tom Daley's first gold. We wouldn't have believed it, considering how much he's done this before. But yeah, he got gold, and it's a spectacular job, absolutely spectacular. I didn't watch it live. I saw the dive he did. It was brilliant, and it's just amazing, Charlotte. Absolutely amazing, really. The job they did to get that goal was simply fantastic. Fantastic. There was others as well. Let me look at the others today as well, Charlie. The gymnastics, the men's Pommel horse final. Yeah. Max Whitlock got gold, third time in a row. For him, that's incredible job. Incredible job. There as well. And I believe there's a bronze in the men's individual golf today for Paul Casey. Swimming is the men's 400 meters relay. It was a silver for GB as well. Gold in the women's BMX as well for Britain, as well for Charlotte Worthington. Great job by her.
Yeah, freestyle B. And actually, Zach, whilst we're on the BMX, we had a very successful BMX in the races as well. We've got a gold and a silver as well in that one,
and a bronze for David Brooks as well, I believe, in the men's BMX freestyle. Yeah, absolute really good job in the BMXs. Absolutely sensational job. This is their on the medal front. The swimming medal was their 8th. Diana Smith, Ashley Smith, unfortunately, on the athletics one, just coming to race to her because she missed out. She had to pull out because of injury. And the big story of the week, Charlie, is Simone Biles, very successful US Olympian in gymnastics, pulled out because of her mental health. It's been a big story. This has been several athletes pulling out because of mental health concerns. You remember the Japanese tennis Wai Osaka, who pulled out of the French Open, got fined for it because missed press conference and pulled out because of mental health. Simone Biles in the same area, unfortunately, for the gymnastics. We just hope she's getting better because it's a hard thing to control, really. It's a very pressurizing thing in when getting to Olympics. It's an expectation these days, and there's a lot of training, a lot of hard work. It's not always easy. It really isn't. And obviously, I hope she's well.
I know. I mean, Piers Morgan wrote a column about Simone Biles. It was online. It wasn't a criticism, should I say, of Simone Biles pulling out the gymnastics. But we all have our opinions, and it's of course athletes have personal choices and personal responsibilities when they compete in these events. But I'm going to play for you now the BMX because I want to talk specifically about an athlete called Bethany Shriver who stormed to gold during her race, and this one was absolutely amazing for Team GB. Have a listen to this.
It's a good start.
There you go, that's
Bethany
nice.
Schreiber.
There you go, Beth. Come on, all the way. There we go. She's leading that Olympic final. Come on, Beth, all the way.
So, very tight between Smulders and Pion behind her.
So Pat Marion is coming through. I think Beth has got the control. She's got the lead. She's looking shot. Come on, Beth. Let's go all the way.
So Pion on her outside. She's hunting down at Schreiber as they come into the third straightaway. A great street fight here now between the Colombian and the Brit as they come into the last turn. And it looks like a very, very strong run for Bethany Schreiber.
Keep up.
She is so quick on this section.
Mariana, all the way,
Chasing
all
her.
the way, all the way, all the way, all the way.
Oh, and it looks like she's got it.
Yes!
Bethany Schreiber in the
The
first time of
Olympic
asking.
champion.
Takes a gold medal. She's screaming into the mud. She throws it to the floor.
Oh my God, that is absolutely phenomenal. Good work, Beth. Good work.
A silver and a gold in BMX racing.
Oh my God, this is BMX is just lit up. Look, we got a silver and a gold medal. Beth has done it. This is unbelievable. The work that these two have put in, first Olympic Games, and this is unreal.
Wow, what an amazing amount of action. Well, this is how Tom Daley won gold in the diving.
What an opening dive, 52.80, a cracking score. Our first look at the Chinese super pairing, the reigning Olympic champions, 10-meter synchro and 3-meter.
Well, it's good, but I'm going to be picky because they were marginally different distances from the diving boards. Now, but because of who they are, they're probably going to get away with it.
54 on the nose, that is a whopper. Tom Daley and Matty Lee.
Yes, even better. Look at that, 107.4. Hello, that is huge. And now the competition really starts.
Great Britain's Tom Daley and Matty Lee, silver medal position after the required dives. Oh,
Yes.
it's brilliant!
79.6. That isn't as good as you would hope it would be. Well, the door was open and the Chinese have stepped through.
Great Britain.
Yes, 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 yes. That's all you need to know about that. That is all you need to know about that dive.
15-point lead over the rest of the field.
Wow, no, that is an unusual error, and that gap that they had as a pair would have closed.
Great Britain have taken the lead. They have their noses in front. This one needs to be good to keep them in the race for gold.
Oh, and it's even better than good. That's awesome. Oh, 89.6. Brilliant. And if they want Olympic gold, then this is how they can get it.
And it's got to be absolutely perfect. Just over 5 points separates them, the reigning world champion.
Oh, yes, 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 that's it. That is it. That is untouchable. That is it. That is it. That's it. That's it. That's Olympic gold. That's Olympic gold. That is Olympic gold. Oh my goodness me.
They need 102.76 to snatch the title from Tom Daley and Matty Lee.
Oh my word.
And that is a great play for the gold.
You can just see the expression on the faces. That's going to be right down to the wire.
Where are the scores?
Oh, and it's just
Yes, 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 yes.
not quite enough for the Chinese. And fourth time is a dream for Tom Daley and Matty Lee. Great Britain have a gold medal in the diving pool.
That moment stood behind that rostrum over there and about to be announced as Olympic champions. And then we had the national anthem play. I was gone. I couldn't even sing. I was halfway singing. I was like blubbering. I just can't believe it.
Thank you so much for.
Whoa, Zach, can I say that little montage there of all of
That
Team
was
GB's
something.
big medals? Wow, I literally, I could not believe it that in the BMX we Bethany Shriver, who is in her first ever Olympic Games, won gold, and then to see Tom Daley and Matty V with quite a let's say quite a joyful celebration at the end of their competition. It must be incredible that what these guys have achieved.
I have to say, Charlie, I think we speak for the nation and say the commentary on the BMX, the commentators on the BMX was just as excited as we all were, watching that. I have to say they went a bit over the top, but you can't deny how excited they got. I'm not surprised really.
Wow. I have to say as well, Adam Peaty taking gold in the men's 100-meter breaststroke and the 4x100-meter relay as well, and also in the triathlon as well. Team GB secured a gold medal in the mixed medley relay with Johnny Brownlee and Alex Yee, who claimed silver last week in the triathlon, coming home with Georgia Taylor Brown. I think Sophie Lamont also took part in that event as well. So yes, the Olympic action is huge. We'll keep you updated with all the latest news. The final day, of course, is next Sunday when we will have the full reaction of the Tokyo 2020 Games, including some of our highlights. So let's hope Team GB can have a good result next week. But we're going to move on now from that to the Viewpoint. And Zach, I want to talk this week's edition of the Viewpoint about crime. And should we be closing police stations across this country? Because I've been hearing reports that many police stations have closed across this country, but many Conservative governments want to reopen them. What do you make about police stations? Should they be kept open or should they be closed?
The obvious one, this is so obvious, right? Okay, they should be kept open. If you want them closed, then you're a fan of defunding the police, and that's not a good idea, Charlie. That's the simple answer. If you're looking at the police stations that have actually closed, Charlie, under the Tory government, they've closed more. They've had less police under Conservative government than you have, you say, the Labour government before they got into power. And although it's creeping up a little bit now, you got to consider population changing, the amount of people that live in this country and stuff like that's changing. So the population to the amount of police on our streets is actually less than what it was, let's say, 11 years ago. So that's a big problem there, Charlie. So I know the Conservatives are talking both about getting 20,000 extra police officers, but it only works the fact that they cut police officers and stations, not invest in them. So that's a problem there, Charlie. That we need more. I think you need more police, but the problem is, if you start reducing them, then reinvest them, that's not really an improvement to what you were, Charlie. I don't think.
Now, Zach, I wanted to say this because, I mean, you look at what someone like Sean Bailey had to say, who ran for Mayor of London. He said in his manifesto plan, he said, or in a video, he said that apparently Sadiq Khan shut many police stations across London now, and we will reopen those police stations that are closed. But I feel like the way his campaign was run, I didn't feel like he trusted the police that much, like in terms of making the police feel welcome, like because the police stations are an essential part of Britain. You got a lot of criminals up in there, and I don't understand quite how he said that Labour, because obviously in some areas like of London where he mentioned that London's quite a heavy area on crime as it is at the moment. I feel like what Sean Bailey said sounded like there was a lot of deserted police stations across London. Do you think that was the case?
Well, the argument you can make on that one is that the Conservatives that are shutting down police stations in London. I don't expect you could put more fun into policing, but you can't control the amount of stations that get shut because that's all under Tory control, really. So you can use that really weird argument that some sort of Labour administration is closing them down. But nah. No, I don't think that's the case, Charlie. It's the Conservatives that shut the police stations down across the country, and they're at fault. I don't know why you would blame the Labour for that, because that's just not the case. That's just not the case.
I know. I mean, Boris Johnson has been speaking this week about crime, so it's clear that there's going to be more into help debtor, drug gangs, thieves, and everything. But please, guys, comment down below. Do you think police stations in England should be kept open or should they be closed? Please comment down below. And we'd like to give your viewpoints, because it's very, very important that something like this political issue is discussed. But moving on now to the time of the show where I talk good news, guys. It's Charlie's good news this week for the start of August. Big news this week for you guys. I'm going to share some news stories today. The first one comes about the rules of the road in Great Britain is changing to help benefit walkers and cyclists. Well, the highway code is going to be overhauled to sustain an increase in active travel seen in this pandemic. Changes to the highway code in Great Britain will put pedestrians at top as the new road user hierarchy, giving them priority over cars at junctions and crossings. The revised code is due to come into effect in the autumn, pending parliamentary approval. It will apply to England, Wales, and Scotland. Northern Ireland has its own version of the code at the moment. So we'll keep you updated on that one as well. It's going to give a big amount of changes in this code as well. Another news story is that what went right this week, empathy in the English Channel. So there's been donations that have been made by a UK charity. It's been criticised for rescuing refugees that saw a 2,000% increase in donations. A tool that was launched to help endangered species in Montenegro saw the first same segment. So here's the news I'm going to bring you. So donations flooded in for a UK sea rescue charity. Now, a UK charity that saved lives at sea saw a 2,000% increase in donations Wednesday after it criticised by anti-migrant politician for rescuing refugees in the Channel. The Royal National Lifeboat Association, the RNLI, was described by Nigel Farage as a taxi service for illegal trafficking gangs after the charity released footage of it intercepting refugees, including children at sea. Now, the RNLI has no role in immigration. Its volunteers had response border. But actually, I didn't know that a donation for a charity had actually been launched into that. So I found that quite interesting indeed. Now, also, the final news story of this week comes on the subject of this now, local news. The pandemic has prompted a huge boom rooms. Show this, or if you're someone where you can work from home in style, or after a glamtastic house summer retreat, that will make your neighbours scream with envy. It seems the demand for the garden room since COVID-19 has been growing, and 1,000 companies says people are foregoing their annual bank holiday in order to pay for a garden cabin where they can either work or a space to keep their kids off the streets. Figures show that around 47% of households across the UK spent money on garden improvements during lockdown, with a total of 25.9 billion spent on enhancing outdoor rooms with lavish lighting, furniture, canopies, oven top tubs, and more. And the pandemic has certainly changed the way in which Britons work from home. It's really interesting to see how that gets on as well. Oh, we are having some technical issues at the moment. I do apologise. We are having some technical issues. Oh,
you hear me, Charlie? Yeah, that's just checking.
Yeah, sorry, guys, we just had some technical difficulties there. I'm back on though, don't worry. But yes, that was the good news segment. The last one was on garden rooms, just to clarify quickly. Garden rooms here. Zach, what did you make of this week's good news segment?
I have to say, Charlie, first of all, hearing the highway code is going to be changed to benefit riders, definitely good news. The migrant boat thing, helping refugees, incredible, absolutely incredible reaction, Charlie, no doubt about it. And the reaction's been amazing, no doubt. And I'm pleased to see all the donations come in, Charlie. Absolutely pleased. So yeah, that's two bits of good news that I was delighted to hear.
Yeah, I didn't actually think that one was a good news story, but I thought I found it because there've been donations for rescuing refugees. Let's just say though, for some of these migrants, we do need to take them back to France. We need to, if you don't claim refugee status, you can't. You're gonna have to send them back. So it's clear on that one. But that's my good news segment, guys. I'm live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. This is the Charlie Tolhurst Show. Please send your comments in, guys, and recommend good news stories for every week's edition of the show. The segment will continue again next week, so please tune in for that. But we're going to move on now to Press Watch and to the United States, because there has been new restrictions on mask mandates in the United States that are being put in place. And unfortunately, Zach, political opposition in the US is growing from many governors, as one governor in Florida, Ron DeSantis, actually blocked a motion from Congress over implementing these new restrictions in his state. What do you make of the news in the US at the moment with COVID-19?
Yes, Ron DeSantis is an idiot, basically. That's my view. The Delta variant is now 100,000 cases in the US again because of this Delta variant. And the reason why this is spreading, Charlie, mainly is because of unvaccinated Americans who refuse to get the vaccine because apparently it's a Democrat that's running the country, therefore we're not going to get it, blah, 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 blah. And also, my body, my choice. Well, you know, if that's the case, then killing off your own base to own the libs is not very good. So, yeah, they're basically decided, the unvaccinated decided, Republicans have decided to kill themselves due to the Delta variant. And the result is, Charlie, unfortunately, that in areas of high prominence of the Delta variant, the mask mandate is back. Indoors, not only indoors, not outdoors, indoors in high prominent spaces. No social distancing requirements, I have to say. But there's a lot of not only these mask mandates, there's a lot of vaccine mandates as well, Charlie. You see businesses such as Google, many businesses in America, high businesses, that are requiring vaccine mandates or face weekly testing. The White House recently this week announced that federal employees are now being required to be vaccinated or face weekly testing. It appears to be going down there. A lot of these businesses appear to be going down this route to protect their own employers and employees as well. But Ron DeSantis in Florida has a different idea, deciding to sign executive orders saying, nah, we're not going to do this. Whilst their state is basically a hotspot for COVID. So I don't understand that really, Charlie.
I think they topped 20,000 cases the other day, I think.
Yeah, they topped 21. So yeah, they're the worst state in America really for COVID outbreaks and Delta variants and people going to hospital, and yet Ron DeSantis is basically doing nothing other than just say, well, you're free to do this, free to do that. He's basically killing off his own population, and it's, you know, I don't think that's a good strategy. Decision half your base is there, and yeah. He's basically he's trying to do a Bolsonaro, just basically, you know what, let's kill everyone. Why don't we? And whilst half the popularity county there is basically unvaccinated, he's just letting it spread like nobody's business. You know, I'm very confused. Is he trying to kill people? I kind of think he is trying to kill people at the same time.
I think as well, Zach, the US media clearly the way they've been covering COVID has been very interesting, should I say. Lots of media outcry over coronavirus, Delta variant spreading. It's like they're only focused on one variant when there's going to be millions around. But another thing as well,
Charlie,
I find it quite interesting.
Yeah. Charlie, can I just say something? Of course, they're focused on one variant because that's the dominant variant, and that's the one that's spreading and killing Americans. If they don't focus on the other variants because they're not as prominent, widespread, and it's not killing as much people. I mean, the Delta one is pretty much the main variant, and it's more the deadlier one. It's pretty much the one that's killing people. Unvaccinated ones are refusing to take it, and they're just basically killing themselves.
I don't know what to say. I just don't. I thought the Lombardia variant was coming into America and the UK. I mean, the variant of concern crisis is certainly interesting on the media. But I think, Zach, as well, Joe Biden, the president of the United States, who, I mean, a lot of people like Ted Cruz and the Texas senators are apparently accusing Nancy Pelosi of having a mask mandate, which I have to say, what she's doing in Congress to say, if you do not wear a mask, you're going to get arrested. I mean, would you say that for some people, because my view on this is this simple, with mandatory vaccination, mandatory mask mandates, I kind of feel that this is depriving people of their civil liberties. It's a bit interesting, isn't it?
It's a measure to stop killing people, Charlie. I mean, blooming wearing a mask, right? Okay. The problem with the Republicans in Congress, right? Okay, Charlie, is that half of them probably won't reveal whether they got vaccinated or not, which is probably why they have to. And with high cases going around, Charlie, they're having to introduce these mask mandates again and stuff like that, because half of them we don't even know whether they got vaccinated or not, and are protecting us, or really just trying to kill half the Congress off. So yeah, no wonder why a mask mandate is back. I mean, you know, the rules are rules. You know, the Pascal police said arrest is possible if you don't follow the rules. That's fair enough. I'd probably accept that if, you know, it's not a bad idea. I'd rather people follow the rules rather than doing these silly little protests of showing their face and everything like that because they can't show their face. Ridiculous. Just follow the damn rules for God's sake. Stop whinging. Wear a mask for Christ's sake. You don't like it, then tough. You know, it's not hard. It's for a few days, whilst, you know, probably a few weeks whilst this virus goes around, basically stops spreading. I don't get it, Chai. I honestly, it's so boring hearing these people complain about having to wear their mask when, you know, it's just a little bit of protection. I mean, yes, there's been some breakthrough cases. Yes, that if you get vaccinated, it's going to protect you quite a lot. It doesn't fully protect you. So I just wish some of these people just grow up and, you know, get used to it. Honestly, so sad.
I think, Zach, as well, like I mean, Joe Biden said the other day that the US could even face potentially more restrictions. I mean, do you think Joe Biden could be heading that way if the Delta outbreak in the US grows potentially?
No, he has no power to do that. I don't think people understand what lockdowns really are, right? There's people seem to, you know, he can't. He doesn't have the mandatory power to do that. He, you know, he can. The CDC, which is the health body, can recommend it because they can't do legally binding powers or anything to like force lockdowns or anything. That'll be up to the states and stuff like that. I can't see that happening anyway, Charlie. I can't see that happening. I don't think it's possible. I cannot see it happening because it'd probably go down bad politically. I think they'll just leave it to the governors. And I think at the end it'll be up to them to decide. I don't think it'll be up to them to decide whether to do these CDC recommendations. It's a recommendation. It's not a legally binding order. They can ignore it than what they want. It's not illegal. But yeah, I can't. Some might not do it. Some may well do. Yeah, we're just up to them.
It's clear that mask mandates seem to be coming back in America. I mean, I still wear a face covering when I'm out. I mean, I make personal responsibilities. I think at the end of the day, though, I think we've got to face the facts that we've just got to try and learn to live our lives with this virus, and we've got to try and obviously protect people as much as possible. Try and get vaccinated as much as you can. I mean, I'd encourage people to get vaccinated, but I just kind of feel that would be. I mean, just comment down below, guys, what you think of the situation in the US at the moment. I know it's not going well over there at the moment, but they've got to just try and keep vaccinating as much as they possibly can. Moving on now from the United States to Australia again now. And unfortunately, New South Wales cases up over 200 in New South Wales. And Zach, it's clear in Australia things are not looking good over there again because another state, Queensland, has just declared that they're entering tougher lockdown measures as well.
Yeah, Australia having a little battle trying to really keep COVID cases under control. Not working. This basically Delta variant spreads to Australia, and it's causing problems there. If we look at the cases today, Charlie, then 475, Charlie. Yesterday it was 177. Now it's 475. Extraordinary stuff. In Australia, Charlie, absolutely extraordinary. Brisbane has now gone into lockdown there because of the rising COVID cases. New South Wales has got 210 cases. There was Queensland reporting 9 lockdowns there as well. So yeah, big problems in Australia, and not much vaccinations really happening. I mean, 33% of the population has released 1 dose, but yeah, and only 15% have got fully vaccinated, which just sums it really up, really, Charlie, of why the problems are happening there. And it's big problem, Charlie, big problems.
Zach, I have to say, what is going on in Australia? The vaccination rollout over there is atrocious. They've got to get vaccinating, otherwise they are going to be facing more restrictions. We don't want restrictions. Restrictions, as I've said, have deprivated people's mental health, and businesses are facing denial with this. As I said, with vaccine passports, they've just got to try and get on with their lives. Obviously, be careful out there, but I think the zero COVID policy is just going to wreck their country, and it will wreck them long term with with businesses, and especially for education, because some states kids are out of school, out wearing masks. It's just not the same for them.
Yeah,
I really feel sorry for Australia, and I have to say for New South Wales, I believe their lockdown is going to be extended by another month. Their lockdown is not due to be eased until the end of the month. This is a horrible winter. It's a dark winter for New South Wales, I think. Certainly.
Yeah, it certainly is. In Australia, we would have thought Australia, going back to the days of COVID lockdowns, a year or 2 on from this virus is a year of this virus is quite something.
It is. I can't begin to bear the brunt of basically why this is happening. It is just horrible. And I to all the people living in Australia at the moment, I hope you're all staying safe. That's all I can say right now. Moving on now to the final part of the show and the debate. We're going to be me and Zach tonight are going to be chatting about HS2, because unfortunately, as you would have seen, there was another phase of the project that was due to be taking place for going up to Birmingham. However, that's been scrapped. And Zach, HS2 promised to be a big rail line invested by the Tories that ended up never really happening. Do you think this news surprises you at all?
Yeah. HS2 is just basically a money cost increasing project. The HS2, there looks like they're going to scrap the bit between Leeds, Nottingham, Sheffield, and Leeds. So it looks like that's going to be that's what's happening there. I mean, the cost of it was about getting up to 100 or so billion anyway. HS2, 107.7 billion. That is the cost of HS2. It appears that line with Sheffield, the Leeds, Nottingham area, it's got so expensive they're going to scrap that. If you're asking me to be honest, I think HS2 is a waste of time anyway. The fact they're able to forward 107 billion out of this project when it could have gone on other things. I think it's a waste of time, really. I just think it is. It's just such a waste of time. It's such a waste of money. Could go on other things. And yeah, it's not very good.
No, it's crazy. I don't understand why they spent £100 billion on this route. I find this crazy. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And this has been a big flop for the Tories. Actually, I will not say this has been a flop for the Tories. Spending £100 billion on a railway system that was supposed to be revolutionary has not happened. It's not, in fact, revolutionary. They've not even done anything. It hasn't even been completed. Like, why it's called, it's not money well spent. I think it's money well wasted, if you ask me, with this. It is a joke. So that's the first part of the little mini news roundup. A little thing with highlights of the week as well, in some news stories as well. Another thing that has been grabbing my eye in politics, Zach, is the continued debate on vaccine passports. Michael Gove saying it is selfish for young people to get the vaccine. If young people don't take the vaccine, selfish. And I kind of feel like they're trying to do like these, offering like some food in offer to encourage young students to get the vaccine. I mean, do you see this working as a good strategy?
Well, what Michael Gove said was that children who, basically young people who don't get the vaccine, are selfish. He's kind of right. I kind of agree. You know, it would be nice if people want, to do their own things again in the future, to actually be able to get the vaccine and protect themselves from the virus. But they're half the reason why the virus is spreading. Young people getting the virus, spreading it along to other people who don't think it's necessary. I agree with Michael Gove. I agree with him on that one. And I can't. It's not often I do agree with him, but I agree with him on that one.
I find this like, it's like the vaccine. He was the guy that came up with the idea of these vaccine passports, and I just kind of feel like, for what young people deserve. I mean, young people we know very rarely get affected by COVID-19, particularly young children. But to say to young kids, we want you to take the vaccine. I think when we look at this last part of the show, this is open to debate, so we can debate these issues as well. And this is what this segment's about. But I think, for forcing young kids to take a vaccine, I think it just feels a little bit like, I'm not joking with you, but it feels a bit wrong, because I understand young children do spread this virus. I understand that they can spread the virus, but if you think about it, many children, the percentage of children that have died from COVID, very low. Very low. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's very low. Probably like 0.1% in terms of this.
Yeah.
I just don't understand, like, for young kids, like in America, they're vaccinating kids as young as about 3. I mean, I don't feel that they would, to have a needle stuck in their arm, I don't understand how this would work. I feel like they would become potentially, like, they could get severe side effects from that. That wouldn't be good.
I mean, you vaccinate younger people for, like, minor things. I don't feel them doing anything wrong with COVID. It's only up to 12 anyway, I believe. For those 12 and that need require the vaccine, I don't think they would need to do that. Anyway, Charlie, I just want to bring in some breaking news, mate. You remember we were discussing F1 earlier, and I thought I'd just tell you this whilst we interrupt you here. Vettel has been disqualified from the results, so he's lost second place. Just thought I'd let you update on that one. But nevertheless, going back to where I was, yeah, I can understand. I can understand, kind of, especially young kids, they're not really likely to get it, so even be harmed for it. But yeah, I can understand what point you're making on that one.
Yeah, I mean, to say that is selfish. Like, Michael Gove has not been I've not been a massive fan of Michael Gove at all in his time in office, especially under this Tory government we've got at the moment, which I have to say, Zach, this cabinet is the most inexperienced I've ever seen in the whole of my life in government. I understand people might think he's right, but to say to young people, look, you want to have a vaccine. This is basically the government's plan to get young people vaccinated so that they could require these immunity passports to go into nightclubs, to go into football matches, to go into many businesses. I just feel like their plan for vaccine passports is flawed already. I just don't understand why they would do this.
I get your point, Charlie. But I suppose as I said before, the vaccine passport thing, if they're going to do it, they better do it because, I don't see why they didn't introduce it in the first place whilst everyone could get the vaccine. At the end of the day, it's I think it's a bit silly, really, to be requiring opening businesses and not requiring vaccine passports, and then do it requiring a vaccine passport 2 months later. Like, what's the change? I don't get it. But there we go. That's my view.
I just want to, before I wrap this up, I just want to talk about, whilst we're on the subject of like vaccine passports, if you've seen in France over these protests, just having a look here, whilst we're here, there has literally been a massive protest pass that I just wanted to quickly share my screen with you now. There has literally been, and if you see some of these images here, you can see these people here are staging a demonstration against France's COVID health pass, which is basically where the UK will look potentially from September with vaccine passports potentially being used. And I have to say, this move from Emmanuel Macron, who is the French president, is absolutely ridiculous. It's that I've got a quote here: "A hindrance to our freedom," is what one of the Paris protesters had to say. I mean that is absolutely spot on.
In some ways, Charlie, it's no different to what the US are doing, mandating vaccines for their areas. That's the purpose. It's no different to that as well. So, can you not get my shot? There you go. But nevertheless, I think, Charlie, in some ways, sorry about that. In some ways, Charlie, I think I get the point, but I don't think it's any different to how some places are like mandating it. The UK is going to be mandating like sort of passports soon. I mean, there's been sort of sides like that, but people have ignored it really at the end of the day because it's not a big deal. Yeah.
I have to say that these protests will continue, and certainly in the UK we will have more of them. There was actually one, I think, this weekend, and it's clear that opposition to this is growing. Please comment down below, guys. Do you think the UK needs a COVID-19 vaccine passport to get into nightclubs and any other venue across this country? But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for listening to the Charlie Tolhurst show today. We'll be back next week for another episode. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next time.